country, but you can still make it on the list. And I go, oh, I get it. He goes, yeah. Trashing our country, our beautiful country, because of its wonderful white snow. She doesn't like snow. She's got to be at the top of the list. Because what person doesn't like Santa snow? It's like, yes. And it's got to be on the list. I said, Missy, why would Missy be on the list? He goes, that's a good question. I actually forgot why Missy's on the list. So Missy, why are you on the list?
The tree.
The tree.
What happened with the tree?
She made a sexy tree.
Yep.
She made a sexy tree. So, a sexy tree by a student of HHS, that's why you get on the list.
I helped with the
All
sexy
right.
tree.
And then we're wondering, why did Hannah get on the list? Well, Santa said, do you know that Haley has a twin? And I go, could that be Hannah? And he goes, sure, you're a bright one, Mr. Elwell. And I said, I get it. If Haley's on the list, Hannah's on the list. And he goes, and what principle is that? I said, it's principle 101, guilt by association. And I said, and then there's Kylie. Kylie's on the list. Why is Kylie on the list? And that's because Kylie is doing a cardinal sin. See, Kylie happens to have her eye on this super elf. And elves in Santaland, or even apprentices like Just an Elf. Get it? Just an elf. Just an elf is not allowed by the elf fraternity to date.
Ooh.
Elves are familyless. They can only have one role model, and that is Santa himself, and they must work for Santa exclusively, or they get kicked out of elfdom. And that's what they're called if they get kicked out. Elves dumb. Elfdom, D-U-M-B, dumb. Get it? You don't want to be the dumb elf. Hey, wasn't there one that made a TV show of it? He wanted to be a carpenter, a dentist. A dentist it was. So he was going to get kicked out of elfdom because he didn't quite have the skills. So maybe that's why he's got his eyes on just an elf. He needs more carpenter elves. Anyway, long story short, we got to wrap this thing up. Because see, it all turned out that I said, it's 2007. It's time to get away from the list. And he goes, we can't get away from the list yet. And I said, well, why not? And he goes, that Duchess? And I said, Duchess? And he goes, you know Duchess. And I go, I don't have a pet named Duchess. And he goes, no, the Duchess. I go, oh, Rebecca, the Duchess in the play. And I said, why would she be on the list? And he goes, well, you know, the Duchess, she's mean. I go, that's right, she's mean. She slaps the poor little child, the Infanta child, that's only 14. Who's really played by a more chronologically aged child who does act 14. See what I mean? That was her screaming, always for attention. Oh, by the way, you want to find her? Just go to Country Kitchen. And then I noticed, last but not least, there is one more.
There's two.
One more. And it turns out the Tim man is on the list. And I said, why would Tim be on the list? And they go, or Santa said, well, I do have a light problem. And I said, what would that be? And he goes, we're supposed to be very accommodating, but how can I help but to say this and be PC? Well, I guess I can't. It just turns out that Tim is French. I go, right, Santa, that is not very PC. And he goes, well, we are going to try to Americanize him, but it's going to take an awful long time. So that's why we hooked him up with the 14-year-old.
Oh my god.
Because even though he may be older and not lecherous, but he will see the ways of the 14-year-old mind. And you know what? Maybe he'll grow up. Oh my gosh, we forgot one. You're not going to see her on this film. No, you won't. Because she's a chameleon. She likes to blend in, scoot out, make herself known. And that would be Tracy. Have you ever heard of the ghost of Tracy? You heard of the ghost of Brad?
Oh.
Did you know that Brad wasn't the very first ghost to walk the halls of HHS? See, Tracy, as you know her, is an imposter. She's an imposter from the 16th century when there was really a Tracy that walked the halls of Hutchinson High School. She was the original motorcycle queen and drove the motorcycle down the longest hall in the state of Minnesota. I go, Santa, where are you getting this stuff? And he goes, I read it in the National Enquirer. Or actually, the National Elf Enquirer. And I go, Santa, that wasn't very funny. And he goes, well, it would be if you would have seen the Tracy ghost of the 16th century. And I go, why? Was she an elf? And he goes, oh, you could say that. She was the mother elf. I go, the mother elf? I've never heard of such a thing as the mother elf. And he goes, well, you should. Because all the elves of today go back to the queen mother elf. And that was Tracy. Tracy, the mother elf. And I go, why did she become a ghost? And he goes, have you ever heard of Sister Agnes? And Sister Paul? And I said, yeah. But Tracy was no sister. And they go, no. But she was a spin-off. She was Sister Agnes's and Sister Paul's little baby sister. I go, little baby sister? Then wouldn't that make Sister Agnes and Sister Paul elves? And he goes, oh no, because back in that day, only the elite became elves. I said, well, what happened to Tracy off that she'd come back to visit us? I won't say haunt because I wouldn't think that she'd come back to haunt us. And he goes, no. And if you remember Mari, he did a heck of a job. And I said, yes, he did. So why would Tracy come back? And he goes, because she's the mother elf. And I go, that doesn't mean anything to me, Santa. And he goes, well, I suppose not, so I better educate you. I said, what does it really mean? And he goes, she's the mother elf. It means she's the elf of what's all good and pure in the world. She's the one that's going to make this cast be the best possible production. Because as she's zipping in and out, she's not spreading food for the French guy to give him something to do on stage or for something for her to clean up. That is actually magical elf dust. And as he eats it and he speaks it, the elf dust mingles and spreads through the air and